What is it? It's more than a half a year that we're doing this. It's like 7, 8 months already.
24,
25.
25.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna mute everybody. If you have a question or a comment, feel free to unmute yourself. Welcome to chapter 25, Kapitel Chaf Hey. So first of all, tonight's class is dedicated Li'ilui Nishmas, for the neshama of Yerucham Fischel ben Yeshaya Halevi, whose yard site is on Rosh Chodesh, starting Wednesday night, Thursday. That is, and we have weekly participation. Cindy's here almost every week, but also that her mother listens to this class on the replay every week. She's definitely going to be hearing this probably at some point tomorrow. So thank you very much for dedicating this class, and I guess we have Sid as well in honor of that. So Yasher Koyach. The learning that we are going to do tonight and everything else I'm sure you're going to do in honor of the yard site should help for his neshama to go from strength to strength, to go from level to level, and he should be a good to better. He should ask for all good things for us here below, for his family first and foremost, but then for the rest of us as well, and the rest of the world. It's a good time that we could use a good to better on high, and I'm sure as a lawyer, he's standing there and he's definitely asking for all good things for all of us. So neshama should have aliyah, and there should be a special day on Rosh Chodesh. So with that, we're going to start Kapitel Chafei, chapter 25. And this chapter, so when I looked at it, I said, oh wow, this chapter is very familiar. I say this chapter in davening twice a day. But then as I looked at it a little bit more, I realized that I say it twice a day, but many of you do not. This is something that Sfardim and the Arizal put it into their Siddur, and in the Ashkenaz Siddur, it's Dafke not. So for me, it was a very familiar chapter of Tehillim, but we'll get into that after, as my introduction, once we get into it on the second round. So chapter 25, as we do every time, we're going to go through it once, just with some basic translation, and then we'll go through it on a second round with a deeper understanding. So LeDavid, to David, or by David, Elecha Hashem, to you Hashem, Nafshi Esa, I lift my soul. Elikai, my Hashem, my God, Becha Batachti, I put my full trust in you. Ale Vaisha, I'm not ashamed by it. Al Yaltsu, Oivai, but please help that my enemies, Oivai, my enemies, should not gloat over me. They shouldn't laugh at me. Pasuk number 3, Gam kol koivecha, all those. So this is David was first talking about himself, but also all the others that put their hope in Hashem. Gam kol koivecha, all those who put their hope in Hashem. Lo yevaishu, should not be ashamed, should not be shamed. Yevaishu abayigdim reikam, those who rebel against you, those are the people that should be ashamed or shamed. Pasuk 4, D'rochecha Hashem adieni, Hashem, please show me your ways. V'archesecha, and your paths, lamdeni, teach me them. So show me and teach me. We'll get into it on the second round. Hadricheni ba'amitecha, pasuk 5, train me, teach me, ba'amitecha, in your ways of truth, v'lamdeni, and teach me, ki ata l'keyishi, because you are my God of salvation. Oischa kivisi kol hayom, I yearn for you every single day. Zechir rachamecha Hashem, Hashem, please remember your mercy, and remember your kindness, kimei olam hema, because they have been around forever, or they will be around forever. But mei olam is really talking about past tense. Chatois nu'urai, the sins of my foolish childhood, ufsha'ai, and other types of transgressions. Al tizkar, those don't remember. Remember me really with your kindness, with your chesed. Leman tuvcha Hashem, for your goodness, or by your goodness, Hashem. Taiv v'yashar Hashem. Hashem is good. Taiv, yashar, straight or upright. Al-kain, and therefore, yoyre chatoim badarech. He directs, yoyre, he points them in the right direction. Those who sin, he puts them in the right direction. Yadreich anavim ba'mishpat. So guide the humble ones when it comes to mishpat, which is judgment or justice. V'lamed anavim darkai, and teach the humble ones your ways or his ways, Hashem's ways. Kol orchis Hashem chesed ve'emes. All the paths of Hashem are about chesed, kindness, ve'emes, and true. All of the ways of Hashem. L'noitzrei brisoi ve'eidaisav. For those, and it watches over those who follow in his covenant and in his statutes. Pasuk 11, Yor Aleph, L'man Shimcha Hashem, for your name. We've talked about this a few times, but in many other classes, and when we talk about Hashem doing something in his name, because maybe we're not worthy, but do it for your name. We say it in the Avinu Malkeinu, Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, Asay L'man Shmecha, right? So do it for your name, Hashem. L'man Shimcha Hashem. V'solachta la'avaini, and forgive my sin. Keep in mind, and we'll talk about this on the second round. La'avaini, talking about singular, one sin. Kiravu, because it is many, or because it is very big. And those, we'll talk about that after. Pasuk 12, Miza Ish, and this person, whoever this person is, Yirei Hashem, that is a God-fearing person, Yoirenu b'derech yivchar, Hashem should direct him in the path that he chooses. And who's he in this case? Again, we'll talk about this on the second round. Is it he with a capital H or not? Nafshoi b'toiv talin, this person's soul should rest in peace, in goodness. V'zarei, and his children and his offspring, yirash aretz, they should inherit the land. Said Hashem li'yireyav, Hashem should reveal his secrets to those who fear him. Ubrisoi lehoidiyam, and he should let them know about his covenant that he made with them. Einai, my eyes, tamid el Hashem, are always facing towards Hashem. Ki hu yoitzi mireshes raglei, because he is the one who will take me out of the trap that my feet are in. Pnei elai v'chaneni, Hashem, please turn to me and help me. Ki yachid v'ani ani. So v'yachid, because I am one, I'm singular, I'm one. V'ani, and I am poor. Ani, myself, I am. Because I am one, just one, and poor. Tzaris levavi hirchivu, the pains, the troubles that are in my heart are just getting bigger. Mimtzukoisai hoitzieni, please take me, deliver me, save me from the hardships. Re'ei ani va'amali, please see, my poverty, and please see all the hard work that I've done. V'salach al chataisai, and forgive me for all my iniquities, my sins. Re'ei oivai kirabu, see how much my enemies are the numbers are just going bigger and bigger. V'sinas chamos neoni, and they hate me, but they have no justification for it. Shamra nafshi, save my soul, watch over my soul. Sorry, Shamra is watch over my soul, Vatzileni, and save me. Al evoish, and I should not be shamed, I should not be ashamed. Ki chasisi bach, for I have put my trust in you. Toim v'yosher, integrity and uprightness, yitzruni, will save me or guard me. Ki kivisicha, because I have put my trust or my hope in you. Pedei elikim es Yisrael, Hashem should redeem the Jewish people, mikoil tzaraisov, from all of their afflictions, from all of their tzaras. So it's a kapitel that actually runs very smoothly. In a certain way, I had a little bit of a hard time preparing for this kapitel because what are the Mefarshim going to say already? It's pretty straightforward what he's saying and how he's saying. Don't worry, I found enough to say, and it's a little bit longer a capital than usual. So there's it's going to fill the class, but it was something that I struggled with since I looked at it on Shabbos. It was in my head, like what can we add to this capital? How can we add? So first of all, I already started the introduction before the class that this is a capital that's familiar to me. I can practically tell it to you by heart because we have something called Nefilas Apayim. The time in Tachnun, in Vidui, where we put our heads down, we bow our heads down, and some have the custom to even take their hand, the left hand, or if you have your tefillin on the left hand, so then you put your right hand over your face and you put your head down. It's called Nefilas Apayim, and we say this capital. So this is the way it is in Nusach Hari. The Arizal kabbalistically put it in there, and it's not there for it, and in the Ashkenazi Sidurim it's not there. So it's interesting because the Zohar, this is based on a Zohar. The Zohar says that you should say this capital, and not only that, you should say this capital every single day. You know what? Let's start from something else. I wrote in the email that this chapter goes according to the Aleph base. So pasuk number 1, ignore for a moment. But if you look, pasuk number 2 starts with an Aleph. Pasuk number 3 starts with a Gimel, so it's missing Beis. Pasuk number 4, Dalid, Hey, it's missing Vav. It goes to Zayin, Ches, Tes, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samach, Ayin, Pei, Tzadik, and then it's missing Kuf, and then it has 2 times Reish, pasuk 18 and 19 are Reish, and then it goes to Shin and Taf for the second to last pasuk, and then there's the last pasuk. So the first and last pasuk don't go in that order, but everything else more or less go in the order of the Aleph Beis, and it's missing Beis, Vav, and Kuf. That's what it's missing. It's missing the Beis, and it's missing the Vav, and it's missing the Kuf. And the commentators say book. If you spell out the word, it's book. Beis, Vav, Kuf spells out book. I forget where the pasuk, but there's a pasuk somewhere that says that book is a Hebrew word, Beis, Vav, Kuf, and it's referring to Gehenna. That's first of all. But there's also that if you take Beis, Vav, and Kuf, the gematria of Beis, Vav, and Kuf is the same gematria as Gehenna. That's another finding. So, and then it continues, and it's brought down in the Zohar that someone who says this psalm, this capital, every single day, you won't see Gehenna. That's what it says that's what it says. But the Zohar continues that you have to say it with proper kavanah. You have to say it with proper intention. You have to be mindful when you say this capital. And if you're not mindful when you say this capital, it can have a bad effect. And the Zohar continues and says that someone that says this capital and is not mindful when he says this capital, doesn't say it with kavanah, he will pass away early. That's what it says in the Zohar. So it's interesting that the Zohar says this. So the Beis Yosef who writes the Shulchan Aruch, and Beis Yosef is what the Sfardim follow. So Beis Yosef writes that based on the Zohar, that we should say this capital Tehillim every day, and we should say it by Nefilas Apayim when we put our head down. Why? Because then you're going to have proper kavanah. You can have proper. You're not in the. You're putting your head down. You're focused on saying this capital Tehillim, this chapter of Tehillim, so you can have proper kavanah, and that's when you should say it. That's the way the Beis Yosef says, and therefore the Sfardim Taka have it in their siddur, and they say it by Nefilas Apayim. The Magen Avram, and it says, and he writes down in Shulchan Aruch that because of what the Zohar says, because the severity of saying it without kavanah is so strong, so therefore, b'medinais elu, he writes, in our communities, in our countries, we don't have the custom of saying this capital Tehillim, we don't have the custom of saying this chapter of Tehillim as part of davening. It's interesting because the Alter Rebbe, in his Shulchan Aruch Harav, he also writes like the Magen Avram. He writes that in order that kabbalistically there's an inyan, there's a thing to say this capital Tehillim in davening, but because of the severity of it, we shouldn't. But then in his siddur, he changed, and the siddur, as we know, the Alter Rebbe came out with the Siddur after the Shulchan Aruch, and we follow Das Achren, and we follow what he writes later, and therefore we follow what he writes in the Siddur. And the Siddur Taki writes that we should say it. We obviously should be careful to say it with proper kavanah. So in Nusach Hari and in the Tilas Hashem Siddur, it's Taki in there. And in the Ashkenaz communities, we do not say it, and in the Sephardic communities, they do say it. So it's just an interesting background of this. But I saw an interesting thing. If you look in a Siddur that does have it, you're going to notice that we say this whole kapitel Tehillim, but the last verse, we have another verse from another place in Tehillim. V'hu yiftes Yisrael mikol aveinaisav, and saying V'hu and Hashem Yifta will redeem the Jewish people from all their sins. So I saw someone write very nicely. He says maybe that's why they put in that extra pasuk at the end, just in case someone said it without proper intent or without kavanah. So we add in another pasuk asking Hashem, please forgive us if we didn't say this kapitel properly, and therefore they added this. I don't know if that's why they added it, but I saw someone write that, and I thought it was an interesting thing to mention. So let's get back to this idea of the Aleph Beis. So first of all, we're trying to avoid Beis Vav and Kuf because it's connected to Gehenim, but there's another two reasons. Yeah, no, it is recording. There's another two reasons that I wanted to bring up about the Aleph Beis. So it's mentioned in Me'amlois that some say that the reason why it's an Aleph Beis because it's a very important kapitel, and if it follows the Aleph Beis, it's easier to remember to say it by heart. So to remember it, to be able to say it. So it's another reason that some say that it's written in the Aleph Beis because of such an important kapitel. And it's brought down, I think there's 3 or 4 kapitel of Tehillim that go in the order of Aleph Beis, and they're all very important chapters of Tehillim. The Radak says that if you look carefully, pasuk number 2 that starts with an Aleph, it says Elikai Becha. It starts with an Aleph, but the next word starts with a Beis, Becha Batachti. So he says you have your Beis right there. And then if you look also in Hadicheni Bamitecha, in pasuk number 5, it starts with a Hey. It says Hadicheni Bamitecha Vilamdeni, and you have your Vav there. And then he says, the 2 reishes, one of them is to compensate for the lack of a kuf. It's interesting. I'm not sure what that means or how that means, but the Radak definitely mentions that over here. So again, this kapitel Tehillim is very special, unique kapitel Tehillim. So let's go through it once again. David to David. So over here, David is asking for forgiveness for his sins. As you can see, he's asking on his own behalf. He's asking for forgiveness, that Hashem should give him forgiveness for his sins and all those benefits that he wants, that he might not get because of his sins, asking Hashem for forgiveness. But he's not only asking for himself, he's also asking for all of the Jewish people. So that's the gist, that's the idea of this kapitel Tehillim. So at the end of this first verse, it says, Nafshi Esa, I lift my soul to you. Hashem, I lift my soul to you. So what does it mean, I lift my soul? What's he trying to say? Rashi says that I refocus my heart in order that it should focus towards Hashem. Nafshi Esa, I lift myself, that it should focus towards Hashem. Mitzudas very similarly says that I will give over my heart to Hashem. Nafshi Esa, I will lift and give to Hashem. Radak says, you could learn it in 2 ways. You could learn it as a request, or you could learn it as an offering. Rashi and Mitzudas seem to think that it's an offering, but Radak says you could also learn it as a request. The Yavitz over here says that he's saying, Hashem, I daven to you so much that my soul's about to expire. That's how much I daven to you. I daven, nafshi esa, my soul's just about to jump out of my body and become one with you. Because of all the davening that I did. The Al-Sheikh over here comes and says, he says LeDavid. LeDavid is that David is saying, me as king in front of Hashem, what does king mean? It means nothing. LeDavid, Eilecha in front of you. I'm just a regular guy. I'm a regular person. Yeah, I'm king of Israel, king of the Jewish people. But what does kingship mean? In front of Hashem, kingship means nothing. Hashem is king of all kings. In front of Hashem, a king or a regular human being is the same, because Hashem is so much greater. So what kind of gift could I give to Hashem? If I want to give something to someone that's infinitely greater than me, has infinitely everything that I have, and everything that I have belongs to him, he has everything that he needs, everything that he ever will want, what can I give him? What kind of present can I give to Hashem? The Al-Sheikh says, what kind of duron, what kind of present can I give to Hashem? And that's what he answers. There's nothing I could give to Hashem except for nafshi esa. The only thing I can possibly give to Hashem is my soul. That's all I can give to Hashem. And that's the way the Al-Sheikh learns this first pasuk. L'David elecha Hashem, ta'yu Hashem. I'm just David. I'm just a regular guy. And what could I give you? What could I give you? I can only give you my soul. That's the only thing that I could give you. There's nothing else that I could give you. Pasuk number 2. So I put my trust in you, and I shouldn't be ashamed. So the Metzudah says that since I put my trust in you, I know, he's saying, David is saying, I know that I won't be embarrassed, I won't be ashamed, I won't be embarrassed, and I won't falter. Why? My enemies will never be able to rejoice in saying that, look, David HaMelech put his trust in something that doesn't come around to help him. He knows that Hashem's going to help him. The Radak learns it the other way, and he says, since I put Elokai b'cha b'tachti, since I put my trust in you, Ali Vaisha, do me a favor, help me out, that I shouldn't be ashamed. It's a prayer of sorts. The Al-Sheikh says that, Hashem, I put my trust in you, I shouldn't be Ali Vaisha, I shouldn't be embarrassed of my shortcomings in the world to come, and Al Yaltzu Oivai, the second part, that my enemies shouldn't gloat, they shouldn't gloat in this world. So he's two parts of the pasuk, that that I shouldn't be ashamed. I shouldn't be ashamed of the world to come, in the world of truth, where everything is open and everything is known. And that my enemies shouldn't gloat, that is talking about in this world. And therefore, let's continue to pasuk number 3. And he continues and he says, I don't only ask for myself, I also ask for any God-fearing person in this world. They also shouldn't be embarrassed. Gam kol koivecha, all of the people that follow in your ways, all the people that are in awe, so to speak, of Hashem, they also shouldn't, lo yevaishu, they shouldn't be ashamed. And that's how he continues, right? That he's not only asking for himself, as we said part of the introduction, that he's not only asking for himself, he's asking on behalf of all of the Jewish people. And then he says, yevaishu abaydim reikam, that the baigdim, the rebels, they come back empty. Why do they come back empty? Because they are on the wrong side. Pasuk number 4, he's asking Hashem that he should let me know d'rachecha and archeisecha. Rachecha is your ways, and Archesecha is your paths. Right? How's it? Yeah, your ways and your paths. There's a derech, there's a way, and there's an oirach, which is a path. So a way is more of like a road, and an oirach is more like a dirt path, if you wanted to translate it in that kind of way. So what's the difference between derech and oirach? So he says, show me your ways, haidieni, notify me of your ways, and teach me your paths. So it's different. Notify me, show me, and teach me. And there's path and there's ways. So what's the difference between the two of them? So the Al-Sheikh says that the derech, a derech is a wide path, is a wide way, is a street, is a wide path, not a small little path going somewhere. So it's something that everybody recognizes that it's the way of Hashem. A mitzvah, he says he's referring to, a mitzvah that everybody notices, everybody recognizes that this is the path of Hashem. So D'rachecha Hashem, your path, Haidieni, just all you have to do is like let me know, because it's obvious that this is a mitzvah of Hashem. But Archeisecha, your paths, these are little different things, Archeis, that it's a sub, people could be in a suffix. Is this a mitzvah Hashem? Is not a mitzvah Hashem? So that lamdeni, teach it to me. That I don't need to just know. I need you to teach it to me. That way I could really know this idea. Don't just notify me. The Mehamloye says that the Rochecha, your ways, is talking about the regular ways of Hashem. That's obvious. You open up a Torah, you open up a Gemara, you open up a Shulchan Aruch, you know Hashem's ways. It's very clear cut. But then there's teach me, and this the Imam Leis, he says this is talking about going beyond the letter of the law. Teach me how to be even better. It's not. It's good. It's great to look and see a mitzvah in the Torah and to be able to follow it. But we should be able to be better than that, and we should be able to go beyond the letter of the law, and that's the idea of Erchisecha Lamdei. Pasuk Hey.
Label.
Yeah.
Is it also possible for it to be the opposite way? Is that the road, the derech, is a very wide path. It's easy to see. This is how the Jews live in a global way. But the path is each person's individual way of getting there. And that's why it's teach me, because each person needs to learn it in their own way. The general road, okay, we all know these are the mitzvahs. This is what I have to do in general. These are what Jews do. But how do I get there, me personally? And how does Sid get there? And each person, that is the path. When you say, help me on my path, teach me that I need to be taught and be led.
I like it a lot. It ties in also with something we're going to bring up a little bit later. So yeah, very good. So pasuk number 5. Hadricheni b'amitecha, like put me, make sure, like focus me, train me in your emes, amitecha, in your truth. Right, so the Radak says that the previous pasuk is things that we could all understand. Torah, learning Torah, following mitzvahs, it's something that we could all understand. Over here, he's asking something much, much deeper. It's one thing to be able to understand when the Torah says, do not kill. Or the Torah says, light Shabbos candles. Or the Torah says, put on tefillin. Or put up a mezuzah. Or v'ahavta l'reacha kamecha, love your fellow. Be kind, obviously, Israel. That's okay, that's fine, that we can understand. But what's the source of this? What's amitecha? What's the emes of Hashem? What's the depth of godliness, of spirituality? Hadricheni b'amitecha, the Radak says. Teach me the emes, the depth of spirituality. That's what I'd like to know. And he says, Hadricheni, because that, it's not something you could say, oh, well, open up a book and read, and you'll be able to understand, and you'll read this book, and then you'll read that book, or read that sefer, and you'll get to a deep understanding. It doesn't work that way. Hadricheni is almost like teach the way you teach a child. You teach him step by step, level by level, and you have to support the child. If a child starts walking and you don't give them any support, they could hurt themselves. Be careful, right? A child, when it starts rolling over, it could roll off of bed. You have to be careful about that. It's the same thing as over here. Adicheni ba'amitecha. Yeah, teach me. It's going to take time, slowly, but train me in your emes, in your ultimate truth, in the spiritual ways of Hashem. And that's the way the Radak over here explains the beginning of the pasuk. The Al-Shich says that it's continuing from the previous pasuk. We have Hashem's ways, but what if we come to a path that splits into two and we're not sure which way to go? There's two ways to go, and I don't know which way is right. Very often we come to decisions in life and we're not sure which way is right, and we hope that the path that we take is the right path. We don't know that it's the right path. So we're talking about in our Jewish lives. Sometimes we come to a place and we're not sure what's the right way to go. Is it the right way to go to the right side, or the right way to go to the left side? And we're not sure. It's the right way to say this to that person or say that to that person. We're not sure. What would Torah want from me? I don't know. And you have to sit down or speak to somebody, and even after you speak to someone, or you don't know if you're making the right decision. So the Al-Shich says when you come to a path and it splits into two, you're not sure what to do. So Hadricheni b'amitecha, we're asking Hashem. David HaMelech is asking Hashem, and by extension, we are asking Hashem that He should lead us along the right path, the emes path, the true path. Why? Because Ata Elikei Yishi, you are the God of my salvation. If I make a mistake, what's going to happen? If I make a mistake, ultimately you want me to do good. And if I make a mistake, what's going to happen? You're going to help me do tshuva, and you're going to help me go back onto the right path. So why go through all of that? Show me the right path in the first place. Give me the right way to go. And if you give me the right way to go, then you won't have to fix it later. So it says, make sure that I go on the MS, on the right path, because you are the God of my salvation. Ultimately, I come back to you anyways. When I come to do tshuva, I'm coming back to you. I'm just yearning for you all day. That's all. That's what I care about. So fix it now instead of having to fix it later. Fix it easily now. Set me on the right path now instead of making it a harder problem to fix later on when I have to do tshuva. And the Mamlei says that it's really hadricheni. It's like it should be derech, it should be rugil, it should be accustomed. Help me be accustomed to the emes. Help me be accustomed to the truth. Help me be accustomed to the right path, to the right way, etc. Pasuk number 6. Zecher rachamecha. So remember, there's sometimes when we daven to Hashem, we ask Him to remember past deeds, not necessarily of ourselves. We ask Him to remember Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, on Rosh Hashanah, there's a whole section in Musaf that's all about remembrances. It's one of the ways we daven to Hashem. It's one of the ways we have a relationship with Hashem, is that if it's not for us, remember the shoulders of who we are on, the promises that you've made to previous generations. So remember your rachamim, remember your mercy. So Rashi over here says that it's referring to what Hashem, the mercy that Hashem had on Adam Rishon. What's the mercy that Hashem had on Adam? The mercy that Hashem had on Adam Rishon was that he was told that if you're going to eat from this tree, you're going to die. And what happened? He ate from the tree and didn't die. That was mercy on behalf of Hashem. So we're asking to Hashem, remember your mercy. You are kind. And that's what we want. That's what we want him to remember. That's the way Rashi explains it. The Radak says that it's more personal for David HaMelech, and it's more about him saying that remember how you helped me throughout since I was in my mother's womb, and as I grew up, and you helped keep me on the straight and narrow. You were always there for me. Zecher, remember all of these things. And continue in now to help me also to be able to stay on the straight and narrow. The Alshich, who is more learning this kapitel that it's talking about in another world, he says, over here it's talking about in this world. Hashem's mercy and Hashem's kindness is only valuable here in this world. It's no value to an angel. An angel does exactly what Hashem wants, and that's it. There's no, the mercy and the kindness has only value because they are from this world. The rachamim and the chesed, he adds the word because they are from this world. So remember your mercy and your kindness, they're only valuable here in this world. They have no value in by angels and in the world to come. Pasuk number 7. So Chatais Nurai. So Rashi says over here that remember my good deeds. Don't remember my sins, my Chatais, my Pshayim. Don't remember my sins. Remember my good deeds. And if you remember my good deeds, right? It will bring out your Chesed. It will bring out Hashem's kindness, as the Metzudas also says in the same vein. The Radak says over here, he says Chatais Nurai Ufshai, that it's talking about two different types of sins. Chatais, which is sins, as is obvious, Nurai, from when I was younger. So when I was young and I didn't necessarily understand fully what I was doing. And Pshai, that's talking about sins that are done when a person's already developed. The Radak gives an age. I'm not sure where he takes it from, but he says sins that are done after a person's 20 years old. That's the way the Radak says. And that's called Pshaim, because at that point the person has full control over them. And over here, obviously, David HaMelech is davening on all of them, on all of his sins, whether they're sins when he was younger or when he was older. He says, that's not what you should remember. Remember me in your chesed, in your kindness, and ultimately, L'man tuvcha Hashem, everything that comes from Hashem is good. Do things in a good way. L'man tuvcha, for Hashem's goodness. The Alshich says that the Chatais, the first one, is talking about inadvertent sins. That's Chatais Nurai, that mistakes that a person makes, things that a person does inadvertently, not on purpose. And Pshai is talking about when someone knows what he's doing and still does it, and that's the Pshai that he's talking about. Pasuk 8. Taivi Yashar Hashem, you're good and you're upright. And therefore what? al kain, and therefore what? You're going to show people the yoyre chatoim baderech. You're going to show people the sinners chatoim baderech on a path. What path? Obviously, it's talking about a path of tshuva, because obviously Hashem, as Rashi mentions over here and others, that Hashem wants His creations to be good, and He's not expecting them to be a tzaddik all the time. So He helps them out and He shows them the path of tshuva, because Hashem is good, toiv, and yasher, upright. So it's not about, oh, I caught you. No, I'm going to show you a path to be able to do tshuva. The Mamlei says it a little bit in a different way. He says, on the one hand, Hashem loves His creations and wants them to be around. But on the other hand, Hashem is a God of judgment, as we know. So how do you balance the two? You balance the two with tshuva. That's the idea over here. Pasuk 9. So it seems that this pasuk is also a continuation of the previous pasuk. So Yadrech Hanovim b'mishpat, Vilamed Hanovim darkei. So here he's talking about humble ones. The humble, who's humble? Those who are ready to stand up and do tshuva. someone that's boastful, someone that's haughty is not going to get up and do tshuva. A humble person is able to do tshuva. Or when someone starts doing tshuva, becomes a humble person. So that's so show the humble ones the path of judgment, and teach them darkoi, teach them your ways. So Mitzudis over here says that the idea is that the humble ones, some people, so Mitzudis says that it's not a continuation of the previous pasuk. It's talking about righteous people or humble people, not righteous, but humble people that might get influenced by others. So he says those anovim, those righteous, those humble people, make sure that they don't get influenced by others. Yadrech, David HaMelech is asking Hashem to show them a proper way. And the Radak, as I mentioned, it says that it's really a continuation. It's talking about those who are doing tshuva. The Mamlei comes here and says that this pasuk is teaching us about the fact that Hashem does things with humility, and therefore He's teaching us to do things with humility. And the examples are endless, but the ones that come to mind is Har Sinai. Hashem gave the Torah on a small mountain. Hashem gave us leaders like Moshe Rabbeinu, humble leaders, most humble of all people, as it says in the Torah. Moshe, the most humble person that ever lived. So the idea is to teach us humility, and that's also an idea that's brought out in this pasuk, that Hashem should teach us, put us on the path of humility, and that's another way we could learn this pasuk as well. Pasuk 10. So all of the ways of Hashem are chesed ve'emes. So this is something we've talked about a few times, that the ways of Hashem are kindness and truth. Hashem doesn't do something that's bad. There's nothing that comes from Hashem that's bad. We might perceive something that looks bad. It's not bad. It comes from Hashem. It can't be bad. It's impossible it could be bad. There's no bad that comes from Hashem. And everything that in the world does come from Hashem. So, yes, there's some things that we perceive to be bad, as we talked about many times. This is not, it's our perception, because we have a limited view of things. We see things from the back of the tapestry, where it's all tied up and all knotted, and you don't see. But if you look at the front of the tapestry, well, it's beautiful. So that's but everything that comes from Hashem, kol orches Hashem, all of the ways of Hashem, chesed, ve'emes, are kindness and truth. And lenoitzre, and not only that, they're there to watch over and to protect those who are part of Hashem's covenant and follow in His statutes. The Rambam, in the Guide for the Perplexed, in Moed Nevuchim, in the Guide for the Perplexed, the Rambam brings this pasuk. He makes a comment and he says, this is what this pasuk is referring to. So he says that anything that you really, really need in life is easy to get, and it's not worth it to get all worked up about. And a person should focus on the fact that whatever I really, really need is easy to get, and all the troubles in my life are because I'm running after things that I don't necessarily need. And then he goes to give examples. He says, what do you need to live? You need air, you need water, you need bread. That you could get. Where did the troubles come from? Because I want this, I want that. I want to have what Yankel has. I want to have what Shmerel has. I want. All of a sudden, it becomes a stress ball for you because I want this, I need this, because I want this, etc., etc. And he says that that he learns it from this pasuk because everything that it comes from Hashem is chesed v'emes. You have everything that you need. Everything comes from Hashem, and Hashem protects those who follow in his covenant and his statutes. Pasuk number 11. So first of all, do it l'man shimcha Hashem, as we mentioned. Do it for the sake of your name. That you don't have to do it for me. Maybe I'm not worthy enough. So do it for you. What's again? By Yomru Agayim, what are those going to say? That look, this guy's trying to follow in Hashem's ways. David HaMelech is trying to follow in Hashem's ways, even though he slipped up, but still Hashem doesn't do anything for him. So l'man shimcha Hashem, and do it for your name. V'solachto lavaini, and forgive me for my sin. Kiravu, either because it is great, meaning very big, or because it is many. So there's two ways to learn it. Rashi says that since your name is so great, L'man Shimcha Hashem, you have such a great name, meaning you're God, you're the Eibishter. So Salachta Lavaini, I have so many sins. You're such a great Eibishter, you could forgive so many sins. That's how great you are. That's the way that the way Rashi learns this. The Radak says that he's saying you're such a great Eibishter. Man Shimcha Hashem, you're such a great name, such a big Eibishter. Salachta lavaini, to the one sin. What's the one sin? The Radak says, obviously referring to the sin of Bathsheba. And the Alshich says, on a similar vein, that even though Avaini Ravu, my sins are many, but you should forgive them. Why? L'man Shimcha Hashem, because just like my sins are many, your mercy is many. Your mercy is great. Your mercy is very big. Your rachamim is very big. And that's the way the Alshich learns this pasuk. Pasuk number 12. So who is this person that's God-fearing and will go on the path, b'derech yivchor, the path that he chooses? So first of all, so who is this person? Most commentaries say that it's talking about the path that Hashem will choose. That he chooses is a capital H. That who is this Yirei Hashem, this person, God-fearing person? Yirenu b'derech yivchor will go in the path that Hashem chooses. Hashem help him that he should go in the proper path, in the right path. So it's a very basic way to understand it, that there is the path of Hashem, and asking that the person should follow in the path of Hashem, that Hashem should help him to follow in Hashem's path. Meaning, and there's a famous comment from our sages, that someone that tries to do tshuva, our sages say that someone that tries, does a little bit of effort in order to walk in the path of Hashem, Hashem helps him, he gets help from above, and he'll be able to do tshuva, and he'll be able to go on the path of God, on the path of Hashem. But that's the basic way to learn it. But I would say, and the fact, and what Cindy brought up earlier also fits into this very well, is the b'derech yivchor, that Hashem will help him on the path that he chooses, lowercase h. The person chooses, he, she, whoever. The person chooses a path. A person chooses a path. A person chooses a career. A person chooses a way of life. A person chooses a thing. A God-fearing person, Hashem should help him that he should be able to do his divine service, serve Hashem, in the path that he chooses. He chooses to be a lawyer. He chooses to be a rabbi. He chooses, or she chooses, whatever it is. A person chooses a path. Obviously, we're not talking about a path that goes against the Torah. It goes without saying. But there's, as Cindy mentioned, there are many paths. Everybody's got their path. Everybody's got their way. Everybody's got their thing. Hashem should help us that we should recognize how to serve Hashem, to do our divine service within our own path. Mizaish Yirei Hashem, this person that's God-fearing, pasuk 12. Yirenu, Hashem should help him and teach him b'derech yivchor, on the path that person chooses, help him to be able to do his divine service on that path. I think it's a beautiful pasuk, and especially that Cindy, what you brought up, it fits very well into this pasuk. Pasuk number 13. Nafshe b'toiv talin. This person, this God-fearing person, this person who does tshuva, this person is, we're talking about someone that slipped up and ultimately he turns around and Hashem helps him and he ends up doing tshuva. So that person after 120, nafshay b'toiv talin, his soul made rest in good, in peace. That's what he's saying. Nafshay b'toiv talin. But his children, v'zarai, in his merit, because of this person's merit, yirash aretz, his children should inherit the earth. They should be successful in his merit. You think we're successful because of what we did? No, we're successful because of our parents, with the sacrifices that they made, the tshuva that they did, and their parents, and the grandparents, and great-grandparents. That's why what we have is what we think it's because of my smarts. No, it's because of what we get from previous generations. And that's nafshe b'toiv talin, someone that comes to that level. Ultimately, at the end, his soul will rest in peace and good. And the blessing will go on to the next generation of his Zara, his children, Yirash Aretz, they will be successful. They'll inherit the earth, which means that they will be successful. Pasuk 14, David HaMelech is asking, Soid Hashem Lireyav, that these secrets, they're secrets of the Torah, secrets of his ways. Those are secrets, as the Metzudas and the Radak and others say, there's some secrets of Judaism that only go to the God-fearing. That's not something that we publish in the newspaper. It's not something we put out there. There's certain aspects, elements of Judaism that is between us. Zwischen uns, as we say in Yiddish. Sayyid Hashem, some of the secrets of Hashem only get so far. But Ubrisai, his covenant, which everybody says is referring to the Torah, L'haidiyam, this is something that Hashem gives to you, and it's in order for you to tell the next generation, it's in order for you to teach to others. It's not something that you should keep to yourself. It's the secrets of Hashem that maybe you're going to keep to yourself, but his covenant, his Torah, that you should make sure to teach to others. The Al-Shich says over here that David HaMelech is saying that how great is the relationship and how much Hashem wants to do for those who follow in his ways, and even his secrets, even Said Hashem, even the secrets of Hashem, he wants to tell. David HaMelech continues, pasuk number 15, but me, Einai, my eyes, are always turned towards Hashem. Always turns towards Hashem. I always put my trust in Hashem. He'll get me out of any problems that I have. But it's interesting that he says, Ki hu yaitzi mireshes ragloi, that he takes my feet out of getting stuck, when my feet get stuck. So I saw an interesting commentary that says, the Al-Shich says over here, I don't know if you remember, guys, but I bought the Al-Shich, the commentary of the Al-Shich only recently, and I'm really, really enjoying the Al-Shich. Very, very geschmack commentary. So the Al-Shich over here says that usually a person, when he looks up, he's going to stumble. It says, Einai, my eyes are always looking up. Can you imagine if I was always looking up when I'm walking down the street? It's a big trouble. He says, yeah, that's how much trust David HaMelech puts in Hashem, that he's ready to walk down the street, so to speak, figuratively, but in a spiritual sense, always looking up to heaven, always looking up to Hashem. Einai, my eyes are always looking up to heaven. And Yaitzi Minesh Zagla, you're going to fix, my feet will be fine. I won't stumble. And that's the Al-Shich learns this pasuk. It reminds me of the famous story of the mayor of Premishlan. Premishlan is a town, and to get to the mikveh, they used to use for a mikveh, they used to use the water, the river. And when it was icy, they had to go down a slope of a mountain, the side of a mountain, in order to get to the water. And when it was icy, people used to trip and fall and slip, etc. But the mayor would go, and he never tripped, he never slipped. It was fine. And they thought they were, some of the disciples, some of the students said, "Oh, are we going to do the same thing?" And they went and they tripped, they slipped. So they asked him, "How do you do it?" And he said in Yiddish, "As min is verbunden oben, fällt man nicht unten." When you're connected above, you don't fall down here. Now, connected above is not a joke. David HaMelech could be connected above. Maybe the mayor of Parmeshlan could be connected above. But it's a level. Yeah. My eyes are always towards Hashem, and it's going to make sure that I don't stumble here below. So the Al-Shich takes it in a very literal sense. Take it spiritually too, that I follow Hashem, and spiritually I'll be okay. Pasuk number 16. Pnei Elai, Hashem turned to me. So the Alshich comes here and says, Pnei Elai, I'm always turning to you, Hashem, turn to me as well. I think it's a very geschmacke. Pnei Elai, turn to me, I'm always turning to you, turn to me as well. And then it says, Ki Yachid, because I'm one, all I am is one person. And Ani, and I'm a poor person. Rashi and other commentators say, David HaMelech, a poor person. He had everything. He looked at all his wealth as nothing. That was David HaMelech. And not only that, as Rashi mentions over here, the sins of all the Jewish people were on his head. Who's responsible for the Jewish people? The king is responsible for the Jewish people. He says, I'm one. I'm all I am is Yachid, one person, and I have all this on my head. That's the way Rashi explains it. Mitzudas talks about it. It doesn't say that it's about sins. It's more about friends. I have nobody around me. Everybody's against me. And that's the way Mitzudas explains it. Yachid v'ani, that I'm just one. I have nothing. I don't have anybody around me. The Imam Lois comes here and says that he's davening for strength to overcome his Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara comes and tries to convince him to go after his lusts and desires. And he says, I'm one person, ki yachid, I'm one person, against so many lusts and desires. Give me strength that I should be able to overcome. That's the way it's brought down in the Mamleis. Pasuk 17. So the tzaros, the troubles, some commentaries, the Mitzvah says that these troubles, these sufferings, literally expanded my heart. That it's going to burst. It feels like it's going to have a heart attack. Like my heart is expanding from all the troubles that I have to deal with, my own, or because he's king and he's dealing with everybody else's troubles. So Mitzvah says it's more about the fact that he's suffering on behalf of everybody else. And the Radak continues on that line and he says, but what do I really want my heart to be full of? My divine service. If it's going to be full of all this stress, of all these things, so I'm not going to be able to serve you properly. And that's why tzaros levavi yerchivu, all these tzaros means take me out of this so that way I could serve you, Hashem, I could serve you properly. Pasuk 18, so Re'ei ani v'amali, see all of my pain and all my hard work that I'm doing for all the Jewish people, etc. So Rashi more or less brings it on the Pashat Pshat, simple Pshat. So I'm doing so much, and therefore, Salach al Chataisai, for all the things that I'm doing on behalf of everybody else, should forgive me of my sins. That's the way Rashi says it. Radak says that the Amali, my hard labor, is referring to all the wars that David HaMelech fought, and all the wars, the Milchemes mitzvah, they were a mitzvah, they were commandments from Hashem. So therefore, he's asking for, based on the mitzvahs that he's done on behalf of the Eibishter, on behalf of Hashem, so Hashem should forgive him for all his sins. Pasuk number 19. So first of all, my enemies are many, so the commentaries bring down exactly which enemies, all the Plishtim, a bunch of enemies that he dealt with throughout his years, and sinas chamas neuni. So the basic translation is that they have an unjust hatred towards me. But the Metzudah says that sinah, they have this hatred, and they call me chamas, like savage. Chamas in the Torah biblically means savage. It's not the only place that the word chamas is found. So he's saying they look at me as savage. Most commentaries say that it's not that, but so this brings it down. It's very interesting. And the Radak and others say I've done nothing to them, but they're still driving me crazy. They're still running after me. They're still making my life miserable. Mamlei says that David HaMelech is saying that even though I have many enemies here in this world, so you might think someone that has so many enemies here in this world, what do you think God thinks of him? What do you think they think of him on high? So he says, I have so many enemies in this world, but you should know that sinas chamas neuni, that it's all wrong, it's all unjust, it's all wrong, and therefore, taka on high, I don't have any enemies. All their hatred is sinas chinam, is baseless hatred. In Pasuk 20, he asks, Shaman Nafshi, watch over my soul, Hatzileni, and saving him. So he's finishing off the kapitel the same way he started it, praying on his own behalf, and also for all the Jewish people. And as we're going to see in the last pasuk, not only for all the Jewish people in his generation, for all the Jewish people, and for all people, for future generations of even after he passes away. So he's finishing off that save me, and al evaish, and I shouldn't be ashamed. Ki chasisi bach, that I put my trust in you. This idea, it reminds me. I have this thing that when I travel, some people when they travel, they try very hard not to look Jewish. I've seen people that have beards a lot longer than me, and they think they hide because they wear a baseball cap, and all of a sudden nobody knows they're Jewish. It's one of my pet peeves about but for me, on the contrary, I'm proud. I'm not ashamed. And Hashem, please give me the strength. I should never be ashamed. Why should I be ashamed of who I am and how I am and what I'm going to do? And if I'm in an airport and I have to put on tefillin, Hashem should give us a bracha that we should be able to be in airports, hopefully soon. But in an airport, I have to put on tefillin. My greatest pleasure. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed to do what Hashem wants. So when it comes to what Hashem wants for me to do, I put my trust in you, Hashem. I don't think what's the other guy thinking, how he's thinking, and what he's thinking. Right? So again, that's the idea that he shouldn't be ashamed because he puts his trust in Hashem. The Al-Sheikh over here comes and says, Shamra nafshi, first of all, watch over my soul, vatzileni, and save me. So he says, watch over my soul, because David Melech had many enemies, and he didn't want to kill someone by mistake, or someone, that he didn't have to kill. So he's Shamra nafshi, watch over my soul, that I don't make any mistake in that kind of way, I don't kill the wrong person. And vatzileni, save me, that they don't kill me. It's something that's been brought down in the same vein in previous kapitelach as well, in previous chapters as well. Taim v'yosher, pasuk 21, integrity and uprightness. Yitzruni, they're going to watch over me. That's the word Yitzruni, is that they're going to watch over me. The Metzudas over here says that this upright and this integrity, this taim and this yosher, they'll stand in good stead. They'll stand to take care of me. And the Me'amlaya says that taim, which means integrity, so that's that integrity in thought, and uprightness, Yosher, is that uprightness in action. That's what he's referring to. Pasuk 22, the final pasuk, B'dei Elikim es Yisrael. Ultimately, he's asking that Hashem should redeem the Jewish people, Mikol Tzareisov, from all of their tzaras, from all of their afflictions, from all the negativity. Ultimately, as the Metzudas explains over here, the David HaMelech says, it's not about me. It's not for me. I'm praying on behalf of the Jewish people. And the Radak says that Pidei Elikim es Yisrael mikol tzares, from all of their tzares, from all of their afflictions, that it's obviously that he's talking about in his lifetime and afterwards, that he's praying to Hashem, they should redeem all the Jewish people from all of their troubles. And with this, we finish chapter 25. And Amir Hashem, next week, we'll go on to chapter 26. Any questions, any comments?